Nikola Jokic is in health and safety protocols. That's bad. We'll talk about it on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That was your worst intro ever, Matt. I'm jazzed and excited. That's bad. This is Locked On Nuggets.
Bad.
All right.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
the Nuggets have a plan to bounce back.
My tweet was better. I said Joker's not in the deck tonight. How can the Nuggets find the right cards versus the Knicks? See?
Ooh, I like it. See there.
Yeah, I should have just gone with that one. Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us your first listen each and every day. We appreciate you guys being a part of our community. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. I'm Matt Moore, senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by Adam Mares of DMVR. Follow his work at Adam_Mares and catch every single DMVR show before and after the Nuggets games throughout the week, as well as all of their great content. Nikola Jokic entered health and safety protocols on Monday, caught everybody by surprise. Didn't even get the Woj tweet. I thought for sure they would have leaked it to Woj first. Just popped up on the injury report, health and safety protocols. Obviously, Bones Highland has been in it for some time. Bones has been upgraded from out to doubtful. Do not expect him to play in this game versus the Knicks. But the bigger news, obviously, is the two-time reigning MVP is going to miss at least this game, probably Friday's game versus the Mavericks. And it's got wide-ranging implications for the team. It makes this this takes it from a high win percentage spot at home versus the Knicks on a West Coast road trip to a much lower one just because of how important Joker is. Adam, do you have anything that's like not kind of like the obvious on this? What was the first thing that went through your mind when you found out the Joker's in health and safety?
Very first thing was, let me look at the upcoming schedule because I just want to see how important are the games and how winnable are they without him. The next four, you've got tonight's game against the Knicks, which the Knicks are on the second night of a back-to-back. They did just have a players-only meeting and then came out really strong. Excuse me. They came out really strong at Utah and got the win, which was an upset win. But now they play the second night. Like, to me, I think players-only meeting, you're going to play really hard. Play really hard on a first night of a back-to-back from Utah to Denver, you're probably tired. So tonight I look at this game and go, that's winnable even without Jokic, but it becomes a lot more difficult. Then you go at Dallas, 2 games in a row. Those ones are tough. It's hard to win on the road. It's hard to beat Dallas. Luka's very good. And what sucks most is Dallas is a team you're fighting for position against. Like, I don't know if they're going to be a top team or not, but essentially handicapping yourself so hard in 2 meaningful games, the timing could have been a little bit better. Then you come back home and you have Detroit, who, again, you should beat. So can Denver get out of this 2-2 and then Jokic is back after 4 games? Yes. Would that be the end of the world? No. So to me, the timing could have been better, could have been worse. Denver just needs to get two out of these next 4.
Much like I always say whenever somebody asks me if they think it's a good time for them to have kids, there's no good time for you to be for Joker to be in health and safety protocols. There's no good time for that. There's no good time for it. Obviously, I mean, look, we hope Joker's okay. We hope that conditions are right for him to handle the disease well. This is no longer like a situation where we're like pointing fingers or blame. Like, everybody's gotten it. Everybody's gonna. If you haven't, you're probably gonna get it. It's just how this goes. We're still going to have these kind of outbreaks. The NBA is not immune to it, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, look, I would go so far as to say I think this game is winnable. I think they will win this game. I'll go ahead and say that. I think they win this game. They're still favored for what it's worth. That's not unexpected with them. The Knicks on the back-to-back and the power rating and everything else. Like, there was no way the number was ever going to come out to the Knicks being favored here. The number dropped significantly, as you would expect, but I still think the Nuggets get this done. The Knicks are on that back-to-back. The Knicks are a good team, but the Nuggets have enough talent. Like, they should be expected to win this game. I don't think it's like a must-win, but it's you should win this game. If you don't do what?
because it's the Knicks. Like, again, it's like the Celtics game. They're nice to have because they count in the win total, but they're not that important of games.
True. Friday, you're right, is much more important. The 2-game set versus the Mavericks is much more important. And I would go so far as to say that they should punt Friday's game. They won't, but that's what I think they should do. Here's
the bigger thing. Maybe not. I mean, I think there's value in trying because you learn different things about yourself. Like, Denver needs to solve a bench rotation. They might find something through this playing without Jokic that makes sense to them and leads them to a solution down the road. They need to find more shots for Michael Porter. I shouldn't say need. It would be nice for them to find more shots for Michael Porter and more ways to get him involved. This might lead to that. It'd be nice for Jamal Murray to further his development as a guy that takes over. So maybe you discover those things throughout this absence. They might not. It'd be great if those things came in wins. If you got wins and you learn 2 or 3 things about your team that are valuable for later, that would be an A+. And that would actually make this, in a weird way, a good thing. I saw somebody online suggest, maybe Jokic could use a little rest on his wrist. I kind of don't buy that one because the wrist thing seems to have been here for over a year. I don't know if 4 days off is going to get it. But maybe it just saves his legs. Like, it's early enough in the season. I know people aren't thinking about this, but hey, a week off in the middle of the season where you don't lose your conditioning, but you also don't get more tired or worn down, that's not the worst thing that can happen to you either. So there are some positives that could come out of this one. That's why I think Denver should compete and play and attempt to win. But we'll see. Dallas is a good team, and we haven't really seen Denver be successful without Jokic on the court over the last 8 years.
Provided, I would say, like, the rest is good, provided that he's asymptomatic. Big key there. I don't know if you may have heard, I don't know if he's symptomatic or not. So
who knows? Yeah, who knows? Of course, there's always that part of it, but
I guess one of the reasons I would maybe punt the first game is, think about it, like, it sets up really well for that second game, right? You lose the first one, the Mavericks are feeling good, feeling comfortable. Oh, they don't have Jokic, we can get this done. And then you come back in the revenge spot and win. I don't know. That's just
what would be more valuable over this? Let's say Jokic misses 4 games. I'm just using that as, like, if I say 4 games, that seems par to me. Do you feel like there's a different par? 3 games, maybe?
Somebody mentioned in the comments, if he's vaccinated, it
5
should
days.
be 4 to 5 days. And I don't know if he is or not.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm not reporting this. Pretty sure he is. I think so. There's a chance that it's only the 3 games, which would be the 2 Dallas games. And if you could return at home against Detroit, that's a great game to return to. Like, okay, you get a little stabilizing game at home before you go on the road again for some tougher ones. But would you rather go, let's say he misses 4 games, though. Let's just use 4. Would you rather go 1-3 in that stretch, but learn something meaningful about your team? Or would you rather go 2-2, but it just be chaos, throw it away, meant nothing to you?
2-2.
Wow. I think I would go the other way on this one. 1-3 sucks, though. It should be noted, Matt. I just want to make this note here on this place where people, because this is not the thing I want to put on Twitter, because I think it's actually an annoying point, even if it's real. At present, the Nuggets are number 1 in the Western Conference, have played the fewest games at home of anyone in the Western Conference, and Jokic is the highest individual plus-minus in the entire NBA. So it just sucks. Nuggets are in a great spot. They're in a sneaky, fantastic spot at this very juncture. And I worry the difference between 9-4 and 9-8 or 10-7 is just so immense. And hopefully the Nuggets don't completely halt the momentum this season.
This gets back on my answer to the question, gets back to a lot to what we talked about when we were talking about what the ideal construct in terms of the structure of their season would be. Rack up wins till Christmas, figure out stuff in January, coast until the playoffs. Like, that to me is one of the keys. I also think, like, you're going to have more time to experiment and figure stuff out. You want to get out to such a hot start that you're like, okay, we're going to be in the playoffs. We don't have to worry about the play-in. Like, we're good. Right.
You'd rather experiment there than learn something.
Once you've established, like, we're good. We're going to be, the worst case is a top 6,
All right, let me change the numbers then. Misses 3 games.
Okay.
And it's the difference between 2-1 and 1-2.
Then I would rather do the discovering thing.
Okay. So it's really just a matter of numbers at this point.
Yes.
It would be a bummer to go 0-2 against Dallas. That's the part of this that's really tough.
Yeah, that's kind of the caveat here, is, like, if you tell me it's 2-2, but they get one win against Dallas, that changes the equation. If you told me it's 1-3, but they get one win versus Dallas, that changes the equation. But then that's actually kind of worse because then you've lost to bad teams. You shouldn't do that.
Well, the one thing is Dallas is a half game or 1 game behind Denver right now. So these 2 games will actually have the potential to flip them in the standings so interesting one. Either way, it's a bummer. We should have talked before we get out of here though. I do want to hear, do you think we talk about what you would like to see? Do you think Denver will look meaningfully better than they have in the past when they did? If you remember last year, they won the first game. They didn't have Jokic, and then they lost the next 4 or 5. I don't remember what it was, by 20 points a game.
Yeah.
Are they going to be meaningfully better this year without him?
God, that's a good question. I hadn't thought about it. No, because they're facing Dallas, and I think Dallas will make them look bad. So I think
actually there's a piece of this that I forgot to mention. Aaron Gordon also questionable with illness. Does not say protocols, illness. And Aaron Gordon's obviously a huge piece of the Dallas equation. Like you specifically want him. So this is a thing that we might end up, it might not just be Jokic, might also be Aaron Gordon.
Yep. Okay, we'll talk about lineup decisions, all those types of things in the final segment. First, we're going to talk a little bit about practice yesterday and get thoughts from Michael Malone on Bruce Brown's rotation, a number of other things. Christian Brown spoke at practice on top of some other things. We'll get Adam's thoughts on practice since I was unable to make it because they changed the time on me, which is fine. That happens in the NBA. We'll do that when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. But first, I've got to tell you about SweatBlock. I get really freaked out whenever I'm sweating through a shirt. I get panicked, and the panic makes me sweat more. It's terrible. And wearing dress clothes, like there's very little way to hide it. That's why SweatBlock is amazing. You use it once on Sunday, you're good the entire week. They work up to 7 days, and you will stay dry the entire week. They are the little secret to confidence. If you or someone you love or is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try SweatBlock. Save 20% with promo code LOCKEDON at sweatblock.com. They're also available on Amazon. SweatBlock wipes were invented by a doctor, and they're guaranteed to work or you don't pay. They call it the SweatBlock, quote, dry shirt guarantee. If SweatBlock doesn't keep you dry, you get your money back. If you or someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweat, just go ahead and you go to sweatblock.com and use promo code LOCKEDON for 20% off. Again, they're also available on Amazon. We're also brought to you today by RocketMoney. I found out that I was paying for this subscription for a website that I haven't been to in like literally 5 years. It's a little known NBA site that I pay a subscription for, and I've been paying for it every single year. And I found that out, and I obviously stopped it using RocketMoney, formerly known as Truebill. 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. Maybe for you, it's an unused Amazon Prime account or a Hulu account that you never use. There's this great app I use that helps me track all my expenses, and I no longer waste any money on those subscriptions. And that's because it's RocketMoney, known as Truebill. The app shows all your subscriptions in one place and cancels what you don't want for you. They can even find subscriptions you didn't know you're paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription. To cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel. RocketMoney takes care of the rest. Cancel unnecessary subscriptions with RocketMoney today. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for joining us and making this part of your day and your first listen. Make sure your second listen is Locked On Sports Today. All the biggest stories in sports, along with local experts, only Locked On can provide. Check out Locked On Sports Today, wherever you get podcasts. All right, Adam, so we'll get back to the ramifications of Jokic being out shortly, but I want to ask you, practice was held yesterday, and Michael Malone spoke with the media as well as a couple of players. What were your big takeaways from practice yesterday?
The number one takeaway comes to me from Michael Malone, which was he talked about the rotation in that last game, which was the first time we've really seen the stick with Porter instead of Murray. And Michael Malone made it sound like that is probably a thing he'd like to do a lot going forward based on who has the hot hand. So we wondered, or I wondered when he made the switch in the last game, if that was intentional, because Bones Highland was out and wanted to point guard in the second lineup. He made it sound like, no, it was not. It's just that Michael Porter had it going. He actually mentioned that after the game, but he reiterated it in practice and said going forward, Bruce Brown's coming in at the 6-minute mark. who he comes in for will be a little bit determined by who has the hot hand. I like this. I think it's smart. I do wonder if on a game-to-game basis that can be like, what is the default setting? Let's say both guys have been average. They have the same amount of points, same amount of impact, whatever. What's the default setting? Is that then you bring Michael Porter out as you have been doing? I'm curious to see that. Does it change by who's available or unavailable? Say Jeff Green is out one game. Does that mean Michael Porter is more likely to go to the second unit? Another thing I kind of want to see. Or if Bones Highland is out, Jamal Murray more likely. And then he said that he likes the second unit in particular because with Jamal Murray there, because it allows him to play off ball, because you have Bruce Brown become the lead ball handler, as in he's the first ball handler, but it allows Jamal Murray to kind of run into it. I actually really like that aspect of this. I would be curious to see if Bones is back tonight or even Friday. Do you stagger him? Because I really want to see what Bones and Jamal Murray look like. But anyway, Michael Malone made it sound like that's his calculus for that decision.
Let's play a little math game, okay? And just bear with me on this. Over the course of any 10-game sample, what do you think a replacement level player's net rating playing alongside Nikola Jokic would be?
+6.
I was going to say +5, so we're in line there. Okay. When MPJ is hitting shots, what do we think that combination's net rating is? And by hitting shots,
Jokic,
I mean
Jokic and Porter?
Yeah.
+15. I mean, like it's when he's on, I've always said this. Jokic has a super high floor. When you're on the court with him, it's going to be whatever. When Michael Porter's hitting shots, for whatever reason, it seems to be especially impactful to where teams don't enter Denver's stratosphere.
Right. So to me, like that's like how easy the calculus is Porter next to Jokic is not a negative. It's never going to be a negative. Porter, when he's not hitting shots, I think one of the interesting questions
he becomes a +5, the replacement player you're talking about?
Yeah. Like if he's not hitting shots, he essentially turns into a +5. And that's actually good that he doesn't drag it, right? Like for a player that's defensively limited and sometimes makes mistakes, most situations I would be like, oh, it's only a +2. It's like a 3-point differential in point differential, but it's not. Like he's still, and if he's doing other things, if he's rebounding and passing and playing, then you can make that decision. But if we take that model, then it just turns into, okay, then let's obviously, if MPJ's not hitting shots and he doesn't have the hot hand, go ahead and take him out. Let him get, he can work on the second unit, try and get himself on a heater then, but you bring in Bruce Brown for defense.
Right.
With that unit. Like that to me is like a simple kind of way to look at it versus I think the bigger concern is that, wow, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I think I might think this. I think I might think that Jamal's floor with the bench is lower than MPJ's. Do you agree?
No.
Okay.
But I mean, we've seen both of them look bad.
Sure.
But I just think the stuff that Murray does is just a little bit like more repeatable, I guess I would say. Like we've seen Porter with the bench where he just doesn't touch the ball. And so if he's not touching, he's not making an impact on the game. And then the bench we've seen, have horrible, horrible runs with him on the court. So no, I don't necessarily think so. I think they're kind of equal there, but I would say Murray has a little bit higher of a floor. It would seem to me.
I kind of go the other way for a number of reasons. I think he full strength. I think MPJ unlocks something with Bones because we've seen kind of that lineup work a little bit. I don't know that we've seen enough of Jamal and Bones to know kind of what that combo looks like.
We haven't really seen it much at all. I can't really say what I think it looks like. But to be fair, we haven't seen a lot of Bones this year. Like this is the hidden part of this is that Bones has already missed 4 games, maybe 5 games tonight. There's only been 13. And then in between that, we've had other guys miss or other rotations. So I just don't feel like I have a good – the one reason I don't want to go all in on showing some of the numbers. Like I posted today on Twitter, the on-off split between when Nuggets have 3 starters on versus when they have 2 or fewer starters on is the biggest in the league. It's the widest gap. Denver is, I think, the best team when they have 3 or more starters in all of the NBA. They're the second worst team in all of the NBA when they don't have at least 3 starters on. So those numbers are stark, but it's early. And I'm still hopeful that, to your point, there is something in the Bones MPJ lineup, the Bones Murray lineup, that lends itself to a rotation that has, at best, a decent bench, or at worst, a decent bench, and at best, nights that will win games for you.
What do you think the default should be?
I honestly don't know yet. I will say this. I am more optimistic in the Jokic Porter duo without Murray, of the ball just getting popping. And in particular in the first quarter, Michael Porter Jr. before last game led the Nuggets in first quarter scoring by a full point. He has actually gotten off to a good start. He's shooting 60% from three in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I know he's shooting 50% overall, but it's even more meaningful that in the first quarter, he takes his most shots and makes his most shots. And that's been the truth all year long. So part of me thinks that I wouldn't mind seeing a rotation that defaulted. Again, I don't think you have to be locked in, but defaulted to Murray being the first one on the bench in the first half and Porter being the first one on the bench in the second half. I wouldn't mind that.
One of the things I like about this discussion and the fact that we've reached this point is just that it's so important to have different options.
Yeah.
I think we spend so much time, media and fans, talking about basically about starting lineups and as if there's one lineup that should be on the floor almost all the time, and really it gets into you need to have different weapons that you can go to that that will work in some games and not work in others. And you want your starting unit to win the majority of their stints. Of the 4 stints that they play a game together, you want them to win 3 of 4.
Yeah.
And come out with a sizable plus minus. Especially if you have the pay structure that the Nuggets have. But
I should also say though that Nuggets, even in any rotation, it's not really 4 stints. It's 4 stints of 4 of them, but it's 4 stints of 4 starters together, and then there's always that alternate lineup that shuffles in quite a bit of it. They do end up closing, but it's usually 4 minutes of close right now, where Michael Porter, when he goes to the bench, he also goes to the bench for the second starter stint, and sometimes he comes back in with 4 minutes, sometimes he doesn't, just depending on how it is.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's 4 stints of 4 starters at least,
right? And I mean, honestly, I'll just say this because I think it's something I think about a lot. Being able to bench key players is a very big deal. It's a huge advantage, and it doesn't happen enough in the NBA because guys are prideful and there's money involved, and that pisses me off. The Utah Jazz would probably have made a finals run if they could have just been like, Rudy, this is not the one. Next round, 100% we're going to need you. We got to play without you for this final 5 minutes.
Right.
But you can't. You can't sit the guy you're paying $35 million to. And that's what's impressive about the situation with the Nuggets is you should be able to be this is not your matchup.
So far, here's the thing though, Matt. Michael Porter can be that guy the entire season. But you get into a playoff series and he doesn't close and they lose a game. The entire goodwill of it starts to, I'm not saying it unravels completely, but it becomes a lot different. No matter how much you say we've done this all year, it's but you just sat me, lost the 5-minute stretch by 10 points, and there's only 3 more losses to go. That's the thing about a playoffs is it really.
The fans would go nuts too.
Fans,
especially the casual fans. There'll be columns about it. Why did Michael Malone bench Michael Porter Jr. at the end of the game when everybody's he's done this literally all year?
Yeah, Bruce Brown 0 for 3. I'll bet Michael Porter would have made those. Whatever it is, it just becomes it really, really tests you there. So I don't know. We'll see. I do agree with you though that it's nice that the Nuggets have different ways that can beat you. With that starting lineup, the different combos. We'll just have to see how it plays out going forward.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll come back. We'll talk about what we expect from the Nuggets without Jokic tonight versus the Knicks and going forward, some rotations and lineup changes. Is it finally Zeke Naji time? We'll ask those questions and more when we get back on Locked On Nuggets. But first, I need to tell you about PrizePicks. Daily fantasy made easy. You just pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, and you win up to 10 times on your money on any entry. Seems like a great Michael Porter Jr. night. Seems like a great Aaron Gordon, if he plays night, maybe not if he's sick. Sounds like a great Jeff Green night tonight. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport: NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Eurobasket, cricket, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy, and they offer safe and fast withdrawals. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up today and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, you get $100. You put in 50, you get 50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, and sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day and your first listen every day. Appreciate you guys being with us on Wednesday. We'll have shows Thursday recapping the Knicks game, Friday previewing the Mavericks game. I'll do a post-game show on Saturday recapping the Mavericks game. That may be Saturday night. So make sure that you have subscribed to the YouTube channel and turn on notifications if you want to catch the live show. You were chuckling at something coming out of the break, Adam. What were you chuckling at?
We have breaking news. The Peyton Watson and Jack White have been recalled from the Grand Rapids, which to me, this is what it means. I mean, who knows what it can mean, a whole number of things. I wonder if the team is preparing for a few players to be missing sometime in the upcoming games.
Getting COVID before a plane trip, not ideal.
Well, also this, like, they did shoot around this morning, which is a little bit surprising to me. They had 2 games off. They knew who their opponent was. So doing a shooter, usually that's shoot around is to go over the upcoming plays. That's what we're going to do or whatever. Sometimes you would do it in the spot sometimes. So I'm not saying totally no, but part of me thinks there's a little bit of, the game plan just changed after last night. We need to re-go over the game plan tonight because it's updated, which maybe is just the Jokic news, although we did not see him at practice. So I kind of think the team knew during practice that he would not be available. But to me, that just seems like there's a lot of indicators of, okay, we're going to have to make some big time adjustments for this game. We need to shoot around in the morning.
I don't know what to say except this is, teams go through these stretches in the regular season where everything just kind of peels off. The big thing is just to not let it spiral. That's why that's part of the reason why I'm kind of be real careful with that Dallas game. Once you start to be in we're going to have to play the starters 35 minutes, I get nervous about what happened last year. Right. And you start playing catch up and it's just 1 or 2 games. So it's fine versus a month like it was last year. It's just don't let it spiral. Just you're in a good spot here. You have a little bit of leash. I know that he's not going to think of it that way. Malone won't, but I think it's concerning. Look, I'll just say this. Big opportunity for Zeke Naji. If he doesn't play, that's a mistake by Malone. There's no reason for him not to play. You need to just for minutes management, Zeke Naji's got to play. And if he plays, he needs to play well because this is his opportunity. Yeah. That's it. This is, if you're Malone and you're you're going to have your chances because we're going to have guys out. That's going to be your chance to earn some minutes. Guys are out. Okay. He gets his opportunity to earn minutes now. He's got to earn them.
Yeah. He's got to play well. The thing that's tough about it is he's got to play well, but you have to, I think, separate a little bit of the impact versus playing well especially with the spot he's in. The Nuggets are minus 13 points per 100 possessions without Jokic on the court. We got to see what happens now with this whole lineup. Now your bench, you might be down 2 starters, which means 2 bench people move up. So now your bench, you might actually be down 2 bench players and Bones tonight. So now you have a bench unit that's short 2 guys that are typically bench guys and Bones. I just wouldn't be surprised. I don't expect the bench to look good. And so it's it's a tough spot to be in.
At this point, hoping for a postponement. I think the problem is you're going to have to get so many guys out at once, right? Because Bones is doubtful. And the NBA is pretty much done with the whole they're going to be pretty resistant on some. They're not going to be very understanding of those postponements as they were 2 years ago. So I would tell you, I would tell you that you can hope for a postponement, but I don't expect one. I think it's gonna be look, if everybody just caught it, okay, then there's only so much you can do. But I would tell you that if that's the case, that's bad because it messes up a whole number of things. If everybody's got it, so I don't know. I don't expect this to be I don't expect a postponement personally. at any
There
point.
will. I mean, there's no postponement. I honestly, I wonder how if the NBA is going to adjust or alter their protocols going forward. We'll see. Is my
Yeah.
internet bad today?
I don't see it. It looks fine to me. It looks fine. I think
Oh.
he's just being silly.
Oh.
Dustin asked, do you think they will let Zeke come in at the 4 spot since he keeps telling everyone he's a 4 and not a 5 without AG? Well, he's going to have to play some 5 because they only have one center. So, like, you could play Jeff and Zeke together, right? And so it's kind of it's like the MPJ AG thing where they're both kind of a 3 and both kind of a 4, and that's fine. But, like, there will probably be minutes where Zeke is pretty clearly the 5 in the stretch without Joker. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. Can't imagine who else would be out there playing that role. But by the way, I mean, it's not the worst thing for him. We'll see how he does. He's been playing stronger. Let's see.
Flacco time.
Honestly, it might be. Why do you laugh at that? There's a lot of guys out. Might be down 3 players.
Yeah, no, he'll play. He'll definitely play. And like, he's not bad. Like, that's totally fine. It's just, I'm just always like, everyone gets real excited about Flacco, and it's not that there's. I think an international play is really good.
I think he's in the same tier as a Davon Reed to me, which is not a great tier, but
yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think that's actually a really good assessment. Okay, this is a weird one. DJ deserves to be benched this game. Instead, he'll play double time. You want Zeke to play 48 minutes of starting center? That's no, guys. Like,
hey man, I'm actually curious to see what DeAndre looks like with the starters. Should he play that role? Do you think Denver will go that way?
I do.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if they. Let's see. It's the Knicks. Yeah, you have to because it's Mitch Robinson. You can't put Jeff Green out there at small ball 5 versus him or Zeke. You have to start DJ because you're playing Mitchell Robinson, and Mitchell Robinson's going to dunk on DJ. Mitchell Robinson's good at the rim. Like, he's where DJ was. I don't know, 10 years ago. So
I mean, he's not that good at that role, but he is good. He is big. He jumps. He's long.
Yeah. That was more about like where DJ was then versus
10 years ago. He was wasn't he at Lob City 10 years ago? That's the best DJ.
Lob City was like 13 to 16.
Yeah, that's 10 years ago.
Oh my God. Time. How does it work?
Oh, Robinson is out. Somebody's saying he's out this game. So there you go. So that's Oh God, Hartenstein's revenge.
Now they should start Zeke.
You know what's funny?
They should definitely start Zeke.
His assist numbers are so low this year. I haven't really watched the Knicks this year, but I kind of expected him to have a lot more passing in his game. Maybe they're not using him that role. I don't know, but his assist numbers are way down. His numbers across the board are way down.
Somebody mentioned in the chat that the Nuggets are the only team dealing with this. Bradley Beal's been out like the last 5 games, so it's and I'll tell you, based off of the European rates, like, we're probably gonna have another wave. This is just what it is. Like, we're gonna have some more interruptions. It won't be as bad as it was 3 years ago. It won't be as bad as it was last year. We won't have like the December from last year, I don't think. I was right last year. I kind of said that December was going to be bad, and by mid-January it would be fine, and that's what happened. Like, we had 1 month where it was really terrible. We're gonna have a pretty rough one, and there's all sorts of other stuff going around too. RSV and flu are really bad. My house has been almost entirely sick for weeks. So, Dave Romero says we already know an MPJ health and protocol is coming sometime. Sadly, no. I'll actually push back a little bit on this. There's studies have not shown that based off of the monitor, unless you have the most up to date booster, there is not a lower chance of you getting COVID. Just the severity of the symptoms based off of whether you're vaccinated or not. I'll also note that in my anecdotal experience, and this backs up some of the research, it's not like, oh, you're on a plane. Like, I said that somebody mentioned that I kind of talked about how if one guy gets it, a bunch of them are going to get it on the road trip. That's true, but it's like not everybody, because a good anecdotal example of this is my father-in-law's had it twice. My mother-in-law's had it 0 times, and they live in a small house in Nebraska. Like, they're around each other all the time, and mother-in-law never got it despite the father-in-law having it. So it's just like it. I think it's kind of random is my uneducated assessment on that. So look, them recalling those guys makes a little bit of sense also from an injury standpoint, right, Adam? Like Jack White, if Zeke gets in and he sprains an ankle, then Jack White can play a little bit.
That would be the Zeke Nnaji luck. Jesus, man.
No, I'm just
he just misses the entire opportunity.
I was just I don't know who else Jack would replace. Vlatko, right? Like Vlatko sprains an ankle, and Jack White
look, you have to bring those guys up because again, maybe there's not anything coming, but maybe it's just a matter of we're thin right now. Viruses spread, so maybe we are going to be down even more guys here in the next 2-3 days. So you got to have them so you don't have a situation like the 7.
I'm gonna just hit this real quick. This team has a legit chance of making the finals. The only big question mark is the front court trio of DJ, Jeff, and Zeke. I'd love to see Zeke get more minutes during the regular season over DJ and Jeff. Whether the Nuggets make the finals or not will not be decided by Zeke Nnaji.
I mean, look, I
tell
agree.
me. All right, make the case. Make the case.
The finals last year were decided by Gary Payton, the second or third. Gary Payton, the third?
Gary's the second.
Second. Gary Payton, the second.
It's Gloves kid.
Yeah, of course. But thank you for that. I didn't know if it was his grandson or his kid. No. So my point is, you're right that the impact is very, very minimal. But the deeper you go in playoffs, sometimes it is just a question of, do you have a solve for a random thing in the rotation? So that's where the only way I disagree with you. I would not be banking on it's different from saying he's the most important player on the team. I'm just saying the deeper you go, sometimes the crack can be the smallest crack that it's like, did you have a guy available for this?
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair. Maybe I'll look back and say that was wrong.
Why did Denver beat Portland 2 years ago? They didn't have a backup center. Like, sometimes it comes down to random little things like that. Jokic actually lost his minutes in that Portland series, but destroyed his 7 minutes a game when they had to play without Nurkic because Nurkic fouled out every time. Like, that's my only point is sometimes it comes down to, again, I'm not saying it will be Zeke or it will be this or that or whatever. I'm just saying sometimes it does come down to you guys matched up blow for blow over your top 5 blows, and then it came down to the 6th one. It's like, damn, they didn't have a solve for this.
Yeah.
LeBron fouled out AG every game, or not LeBron. It's not going to be LeBron. Kawhi Leonard, Luka Doncic fouled out Aaron Gordon every single game after 27 minutes. So the Nuggets had to play 8 minutes without Aaron Gordon every game in that series. And did they have somebody or not?
I think there are scenarios where I could see Christian Brown being the difference, that's stunning for a rookie, but I really can. I can see Christian Brown being the difference. I could definitely see Bruce Brown being the difference. I can see Jeff Green.
That's the point. But if you can see Jeff Green, that's the point. Even he can be the difference.
And that's kind of my thing is I think that there's those guys. And then I think there's Zeke. That's the problem is that's where I'm at. I don't know. I'll say this. I go back and forth. I think there's a little bit of circular logic here, right? Of Zeke doesn't get enough minutes. And I go well, maybe Zeke doesn't deserve to get enough minutes. Maybe this is something that the coaching staff knows, he shouldn't be getting more minutes. And that's a reflection of who he is as a player. But I can't disprove that because he doesn't get enough minutes.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but there's also the entire coaching staff spending an entire training camp telling you that he's earned them and that he's doing everything that's asked of him. So there's that part of it as well. Look, it's a long season. This is an opportunity for him to kind of make his name, but I don't think it's crazy to say that what the comment was, which is that there is a world in which by April, Zeke Nnaji is a unique tool in your tool belt that solves a very specific equation that you might need to have in your pocket. And so you probably have to play him to know that.
I'll also say this. I think it's extremely unlikely, and I think he's more on the Cantor side than an alternative. But if we're going to go this route, it's also entirely possible that DJ is the difference in them making the finals or not.
In a bad way or in a good way?
In a good way.
Yeah.
Because this is where we get to is Zeke is an unknown.
It's possible. I agreed with you. I said, yeah, it is possible. I think it's
unlikely.
Very, very, very unlikely.
Very unlikely.
More unlikely than Zeke.
And this is the whole thing is DJ is because he's more of a known. That's a negative in most fans' eyes versus Zeke is an unknown. And that's always going to be a positive in most fans' minds.
I think that the point is it's unexplored. I think it should be it's an unexplored. Zeke Nnaji was good last year. He shot 50% from 3. Zeke Nnaji might have some things in him. He might not. It was small enough volume that you could say maybe he's not actually a good shooter. He's not a good free throw shooter. So there's reason to believe there might be something to that. But if he is a guy that can hit 40% of his threes and play 8 minutes of defense at a high level, that's actually a very useful thing, even if he does nothing else. So we'll see. I think we will know by April. I think we'll know by February, which is the trade deadline. I think we'll actually have a pretty good idea whether that's true or not.
Nikola says, was Millsap a better player than Jeremy Grant? Yes. Over the course of his time in Denver, Paul Millsap was still a better player than Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant was more important than him in the playoffs. But
I don't even know if I agree fully with that. Here's the point was, Jeremy Grant was good in the Lakers series. He wasn't good in the other two. So I agree with, I'm agreeing more in the Millsap direction than you with the Jeremy Grant part. I think, but it is an example of another one that was like, I think underutilized in the regular season in a way that there was, as we learned, probably a little bit more utility there that was untapped. And I think Denver maybe thought they had him for longer. So it's like, hey, year one, foundation, year two, explore. I don't know. But either way, I think that parallel is actually somewhat fair as one potential outcome.
Options, right? Different options. That's what it's about.
By the way, the reason I would really disagree with his comment is I think the Nuggets backup 3 is more of a question than the backup 4. That's the only reason I would disagree with that.
Okay, let's go wrap it up for Locked On Nuggets for a Wednesday. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys being with us and joining the show. We'll be back tomorrow to recap the Knicks game. Come hell or high water, we'll see how this goes, and we'll talk about the impacts going forward. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to hit the rate, review, and subscribes. Follow us on YouTube so you can join the live show. Have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow.